Hello and welcome back to TriggerSmart. This is your not quite World War III update. Hopefully we don't get to that point. But this is the last 24 to 48 hours of news having to do with the Iran war and the global effects of it. Let's get into it. Let's start off with global news and then we'll get into the clips and show you some war footage. Major global military developments the last 24 to 48 hours. Iran is attempting to block or severely disrupt shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point which about 20% of the world's oil normally passes. Iranian forces attacked or damaged several commercial ships overnight, further paralyzing traffic. Iran has reportedly targeted cargo ships and threatened any vessel linked to the U.S. or allies. We'll see some pictures of that. The U.S. Navy destroyed 16 Iranian mine-laying boats near the strait after intelligence suggested Tehran might mine the waterway. And it's only about 2 miles wide, so it's not very much work for them to do that. Global effects. Brent crude prices have surged roughly 20% since the conflict began. Several countries, including Germany, Australia, and Japan, have begun releasing emergency oil reserves to help with demand and also to help keep prices down. Iran launches large missiles and drone barrage across the Gulf. Iran carried out new waves of missile and drone strikes across the Gulf region in the last day. Targets reportedly included Saudi oil infrastructure, ships near the UAE, and sites near Qatar and the Gulf states. Gulf air defenses intercepted many incoming weapons. This indicates the war is expanding beyond Iran's borders into regional infrastructure and energy targets, not just military targets. Aviation crisis across the Middle East. Drone incidents near Dubai International Airport caused injuries and forced flight disruptions. Much of the Middle East airspace is now closed, forcing thousands of flights to reroute or cancel. Aviation experts say this is the largest aviation disruption since the hokey pokey pandemic. The effects: higher jet fuel prices, cargo and supply chain disruptions, and airline capacity reductions across the Gulf. Continued U.S.-Israel airstrikes across Iran. The U.S. and Israel continue hitting military and infrastructure targets across Iran. The Pentagon reports over 5,000 targets struck in Iran since the war began. Iranian casualties reported, over 1,300 citizens killed, according to Iranian officials. U.S. casualties and military impact. Around 140 U.S. service members have been wounded in the conflict so far. Iranian attacks continue targeting U.S. bases and allied infrastructure in the region. Attacks on Gulf states and shipping expand the war. Iran is targeting commercial shipping and oil infrastructure across Gulf countries. Drone strikes occurred near Dubai, Saudi oil facilities, commercial ships in the Gulf, and a cargo ship near the Strait of Hormuz was hit, leaving crew missing. This indicates economic warfare targeting global energy flows. And this is something that you might see if a military was being defeated militarily, but they still want to impact their enemy in major ways. They would do it financially and hit this infrastructure. Middle East countries intercept Iranian missiles. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and other Gulf states intercepted multiple Iranian missiles and drones in the past 24 hours. This confirms the conflict is effectively regional rather than limited to Iran and Israel, U.S. Middle Eastern civilian and regional damage expands. Lebanese casualties from Israeli strikes have reached hundreds. Multiple regional countries reported civilian injuries from the missile debris and strikes. UN and diplomatic developments. The UN Security Council is preparing a vote on a resolution condemning Iranian regional attacks. Several countries are pushing for de-escalation and maritime security protections, political messaging, and strategic signals. The U.S. president has suggested the war may end soon, though fighting is intensifying, and he's also saying he can stop it anytime. Iranian leadership says it is prepared to continue fighting indefinitely. This reflects a widening gap between political messaging and battlefield reality. The top 5 most consequential developments. Strait of Hormuz crisis is threatening global oil supply. Iranian missile drone attacks expanding across the Gulf. U.S. Navy destroying Iranian mine-laying vessels. Major aviation disruptions across the Middle East. And continued U.S.-Israel strikes and rising casualties. Now let's get into X and the clips. The spokesperson warned the United States will not be able to control prices with artificial measures and said to get ready for $200 oil per barrel. The spokesperson also said Iran's policy of reciprocal hits has ended and that Tehran will not carry out continuous strikes. And this one here goes out to World Source News. You can see here, there's sirens in the Tel Aviv region due to Iranian missile attacks. Whether there's 1 missile or 1,000, they get these alerts. This is the SOFAR app. So this is still telling you that Iran can still launch. They're saying that 80% of their capability is down, according to Israel, but obviously they're still able to launch missiles towards Israel. This is an explosion in the Iranian city of Quds. Very sizable explosion. Defense Minister Katz says Israel's campaign against Iran has no set time limit and will continue until its objectives are achieved. And that's the same thing that Iran said. And Karamabad is still being hit by loud, powerful explosions. Channel 12 Israel. Israeli Air Force assessments indicate that Iran has already lost about 80% of its missile launch capability, with the remaining systems expected to be nearly eliminated within days, potentially reaching a 95% reduction. And as you can see here, areas of Merivan were bombed. Again, pretty large explosions. Adam Cooper says U.S. forces since the start of the war have struck more than 5,500 targets inside Iran, sunk or damaged approximately 60 vessels. The government of Spain has removed its ambassador to Israel, according to a decision published Wednesday in the official state gazette. Following the move, Spain's embassy in Tel Aviv will be led by a charge d'affaires, a source at the Spanish Foreign Ministry said. This is CENTCOM Commander Adam Cooper.
First, our warfighters are leveraging a variety of advanced AI tools. These systems help us sift through vast amounts of data in seconds, so our leaders can cut through the noise and make smarter decisions faster than the enemy can react. Humans will always make final decisions on what to shoot and what not to shoot, and when to shoot. But advanced AI tools can turn processes that used to take hours and sometimes even days into seconds.
Now tell me, do you believe that humans will always make the final decision? Have you seen Terminator? The IDF Chief of Staff, Zamir, says, so far, we have eliminated many thousands of regime soldiers and commanders. We will continue to deepen the strikes against the regime and its military capabilities. I also say from here to our enemies, no one is immune. We will reach anyone who tries to harm Israeli civilians. The U.S. Central Command has released footage showing precision strikes on an S-200 transporter erector launcher, and they've been hitting these for quite a while now, and they're getting lower on the numbers, of course, and they're hitting inside of these bunkers too. So we'll see at what point they've taken out enough of these that Israel can stop getting alerts. And this one here is an unfortunate, very unfortunate side effect of these strikes. After strikes on oil facilities in Iran, black rains with toxic particles are observed, according to Reuters. The WHO warns of headaches, skin and eye irritation, and breathing problems, advising people to stay indoors. Ahmad Reza Radan, the Iranian regime's chief of police. If people take to the streets to protest, we will deal with them as we would the enemy. Our hands are on the trigger. So again, threatening protesters, threatening anyone that stands up against the regime. A Western intelligence official says Russia is giving Iran specific advice on how to use drones based on tactics from the war in Ukraine. The guidance reportedly includes strategies for targeting and coordinating drone attacks to evade air defenses. And this may be in response to Zelensky working with NATO and the US and Israel to teach them how to not only target these drones, but also to use electronic warfare and things to make them miss. Iran's armed forces will now strike blow after blow, not just retaliations, like they said, continuously. Prepare for oil to hit $200 per barrel. In the photo, an Iranian attack ship tries to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. And you can see here, it's been hit, and it has some major damage. And this is not the first one. Iran also says it will not participate in the 2026 World Cup after the United States killed its leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Bloomberg reports Israel eyes a Red Sea foothold. Jerusalem is quietly exploring a possible military presence in Somaliland to counter the Iran-backed Houthi movement, building on its recognition of the territory and talks for a strategic security partnership. Here we have a funeral procession for one of the leaders in Iran that was taken out.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. مخاطبین عزیز و ارجمند خبرگزاری مهر امروز به مراسم.
And as you can see, they're still trying to keep honor in those that are lost. There were some reports early on that Mojtaba Khamenei, which is Ali Khamenei's son, was either in a coma or had passed from recent strikes. But there's reports out today. They're just saying Iran's new supreme leader suffered a fractured foot, facial cuts, and a bruise around his left eye on the first day of the U.S.-Israel bombardment campaign. So there's conflicting reports, but apparently he is alive and he is still functioning as the leader. The International Energy Agency has proposed releasing 400 million barrels of oil from strategic reserves, potentially the largest release in history. All 32 member countries unanimously agreed to make emergency reserves available to the market. The release will continue and occur over timelines suited to each country's national circumstances. And then we have Trump here saying the war is going excellently. We are far ahead of schedule. This coming from Axios. U.S. and Israeli officials say no internal directive has been issued to stop the fighting, with preparations underway for at least 2 more weeks of strikes in Iran. And this is Trump showing a cardboard version of the Ayatollah.
And it's very cool.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that great? Just went up yesterday.
Wow.
And
this is more footage from Iran, and this was a targeted strike on a leader or someone important in this building.
من عندي من قلب البيت هدول هن 3 شقق شارع حمود.
I had heard reports that because all the radars have been taken out, which they have been in the Middle East, many of them are gone, billion-dollar radars. They're basically the ones that the U.S. uses for like the THAAD systems and some of the missile defense and to see incoming. So that's a huge blow to their military capability. And this is showing that Israel still has interceptors that are functional.
תראה פה כמה. נראה לי נפילה, אחי. נראה.
There's an impact back there.
נראה לי היה שם נפילה.
I'm not sure if that was a missile. As you can see, there's still activity going on. There's incoming missiles, and you can still see interceptors going up. This one going to OSINT warfare. Footage shows an Israeli airstrike targeting a motorcycle on the southern suburbs of Beirut in a possible targeted assassination. And as you can see, they're hitting vehicles, motorcycles, apartment buildings. They're going anywhere that these people are, including underground bunkers. This is supposed to be showing a crashed Israel missile with the unexploded warhead visible. There's no public Israeli weapon matching this munition, but one was previously found in Lebanon, and remnants of this weapon or a similar one have been found in strikes in Lebanon and Gaza. And this video is supposed to show a drone over Bahrain, and there's no alert. And now, can that go back to the fact that a lot of these radars have been destroyed? I don't know. This is an image of the United States Air Force F-22 Raptor supporting strikes in Iran. And last I'd heard, there were more than 20 of these that were included. We have the IRGC flexing their muscle, showing videos of launches. Now, remember, when this war first started, they were launching dozens, if not over 100 missiles at a time. Now we're seeing singles and doubles. So it could be true that 80% of their capability is gone. There are reports indicating that the Islamic resistance in Iraq has launched missile strikes targeting American and Israeli positions, accompanied by a broader coordinated campaign against U.S. assets across the Persian Gulf. That includes Manama, Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Erbil. And then we have this very cool, very rare video, and this is a B-2 bomber being refueled by a stratotanker. And when I say rare, I mean rare. And you can also see the fighter jet escorting the B-2 down below. Very cool. We have fatalities reported after a man set himself on fire aboard a bus in Curzers, Switzerland. Now, someone setting themselves on fire and taking out other people, to me, qualifies as a terror attack.
Oh my God!
And we're seeing stuff like this pick up. We're starting to see more of these strange random attacks and attempted bombings. You can see here, this is another Navy ship being hit. Multiple ships. Submarine. And speaking of those attacks, the NYPD bomb squad has shut down 10 blocks near Gracie Mansion after a suspicious package was found in a nearby park. That was roughly a day ago. Gracie Mansion was evacuated, and this is another thing that's telling me that some of these sleeper cells might be getting activated. We're starting to see more of this activity. This is showing more damage in Iran. This is supposedly a residential area. In the last 24 hours, there were also 2 police officers that were shot near an Orthodox Jewish synagogue in Baltimore, Maryland, with additional gunfire reported in the vicinity of the Agaduth Israel of Baltimore. Authorities report that the suspect was shot and killed. Again, is this related to the things that are going on? Or is this just another coincidence? Is this just business as usual? Local Iranian sources report that approximately 80% of Tehran's Pars is experiencing a blackout, with both water and electricity reportedly cut off following Israeli-American strikes. Senators now believe that the United States will put boots on the ground in Iran. And this is one of those situations where they keep bringing it up lightly. They keep soft launching it. Well, I don't think we need to put boots on the ground, I don't know if it's necessary. And then a couple of days later, a week later, we're considering it, right? It's something we're thinking about. We might do it, but, it's not guaranteed. We're not sure if we need it. And now they're talking like, well, we're probably going to need it. So there's a pretty good chance that we're going to put U.S. soldiers on the ground in Iran. So we haven't seen it yet. That now there's a chance there may already be some on the ground, some special forces, but I'm not sure they're talking about a much larger ground invasion to make sure they can take over everything. Because remember, you can't just go and strike everything and then leave. You have to secure the supposed uranium, any military sites that are still there. You have to make sure that those that are in power, the IRGC, you have to take out their leaders. You may have to arrest some of them. And you have to make sure that the infrastructure there for water and electricity and everything else is still working for the people for humanitarian reasons. So there's still a lot of work to be done there. And this was the official post coming from OSINT Defender. U.S. intelligence assets have begun to see indicators Iran is taking steps to deploy some of its 2,000 to 6,000 naval mines of Iranian, Chinese, and Russian origin into shipping lanes across the Strait of Hormuz, utilizing smaller crafts that can carry 2 to 3 mines each. This was the initial report that came out, and since then, it seems like steps are being taken to minimize or prevent this from happening. 22 hours ago, the UK's Type 45 destroyer HMS Dragon departed and is en route to Cyprus. I don't know if they've arrived or not yet. I've not seen anything that they have. And we have another case here of a targeted possible assassination by Israel. Looks like a drone strike on a very specific target. We have more U.S. military aircraft continuing to land at RAF Fairford following earlier arrivals over the weekend. So we still have a buildup of cargo planes, B-52s, fighter jets. So this is not over. This is not something they're planning on ending anytime soon. It doesn't seem. This is Pete Hegseth talking about the oil depots.
Well, I would just state by saying Israel's been a really strong partner in this effort. Where they have different objectives, they've pursued them. Ultimately, we've stayed focused on ours. But what Iran has felt is the power of the world's 2 most powerful air forces. In that particular case, those weren't our strikes or that objective, or that wasn't necessarily our objective. But the president has made it clear to those concerns that we're not getting pulled in any direction. We're leading. The president is leading.
So they're saying that they're jointly taking out different objectives for Israel and the U.S. So they're pursuing different things. So basically at the same time Iran's getting hit by the U.S. military strikes, Israel may have different ideas of what they want to hit and what they want to do there. This is Trump speaking about why he got into the war.
The situation was very quickly approaching the point of no return, and the United States found it intolerable, in my opinion, based on what Steve and Jared and Pete and others were telling me, Marco, so involved, that I thought that they were going to attack us. I thought they would, if we didn't do this at the time we did it, I think they had in mind to attack us. And
so basically what he's saying is, based on these other people that he listed off, he thinks that that is why he had to do this war, because they made him feel as though we were going to be attacked by Iran. Some people are saying that he's basically throwing them under the bus. There are still lots of reports going back and forth saying whether the U.S. did or did not strike that girl's school. Matt Tardio's been one of the main people who's really been leading the campaign that it was not the U.S., and he's had some very compelling posts. There were some posts that are saying that the school was set up on purpose in the way it was in this vicinity so that if we did strike, this would happen. So basically it was a setup, almost like human shields. We have people like Senna, BI Report, saying that they've been silent about this whole thing, but comparing explosion patterns, they're saying that the strike that happened to the girls' school was not, in fact, a Tomahawk. So you can see there's a lot of people on both sides who are trying to prove or deny what's going on or what happened. But either way, if it was the U.S. or Israel or one of our allies, I hope that it doesn't happen again. I hope it's one of those things where this was a unfortunate accident. And that's been the last 24 to 48 hours of what's happened around the Iran war and things globally. And it's really interesting to see how this is developing. It seems as though Trump is kind of pushing some other people to the front, saying like, these people told me that I should do this. And then he's also saying he can pull out at any time. We have Iran and Israel both saying they can do this indefinitely. So that tells me that they're not ready to be done yet. And, you know, the price of oil and things, it might be temporarily fixed by them releasing all these reserves. But long term, something's going to have to be figured out. But just make sure you guys are staying safe. If you're in these areas, obviously make sure you're using caution. I would not vacation to that area. And there are travel warnings and things out there already posted. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this around. And if you want to support the channel, there's links down in the description. And I'll see you on the next one.